Hey, it's syndicated radio talk show host, author, singer Al Cole, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. I come from CBS Radio. My shows are nationally syndicated, and I've helped pave the way to treating women, guys too, with the dignity that they deserve. And I do that with my show, People of Distinction, aired on top dignified networks like Apple's iTunes Radio Network. Under their professional news talk division, they air CBS shows, Fox News, NPR, BBC, and C-SPAN as well. So the top talk in the country around the world is Apple's iTunes Radio Network under their professional news talk division. And I'm also a media consultant. Coming from CBS Radio, I've helped a lot of people to understand media, to understand interviewing on media, and podcasting on media. All of those good things that people want to engage in to sell their products. And I do mean sell. When somebody writes a book or has a coaching program or has a podcast or is doing anything professionally with products and services, well, they just don't want to spend a lot of time doing it and make no money from it. We live in an entrepreneurial society where people can engage in having their own products and services out there and making money from it too. Well, that's where I come in. As a media consultant, I help people to make money through what they do, through love. People love their products, they love their services. Why shouldn't they get paid for it? And I teach people about professional networking, how to network with the professionals, and also how to develop contacts. Yeah, very, very important. All of those things. You can go to my website, find out more about my media consulting. Go to peopleofdistinction.org. That's peopleofdistinction.org. And while you're there, you're going to see the alliance that I have with Arianna Huffington, founder of the Huffington Post, and you'll see other alliances that I have to help you with being the very best that you can be in the media sense. Yeah, we love that. I also have my People of Distinction Humanitarian Awards events. They're national events that I hold in New York City, Capitol Hill as well, with members of the U.S. Congress. U.S. Congressman Rob Whitman of Virginia reaching out and sponsoring my events over at the Rayburn House Office building in D.C., and great events in Atlanta and as well as Florida. So we love that. And coming from CBS Radio, I'm also a best-selling author, a New York Times best-selling author with Chicken Soup for the Soul. Chicken Soup for the Soul is distributed by CBS's Simon & Schuster. So we keep it in the family that way. And if you want to email me on anything that I do, well, email me at alcoholic@gmail.com. You heard me right. That's ALCOLEHOLIC@gmail.com. And I really want to thank my CBS radio listeners for coming up with that handle, Alcoholic. It seems like from day one, my listeners have been saying, Al, we love what you're doing there, brother. In fact, we're hooked on it. We're alcoholics. Coming up, an Evelyn Cole-holic. Yeah. Now, this lady, she's got the same last name as me, Cole, C-O-L-E. And that means that, boy, she's a great professional as well. She's a lady who has written a book, Gambling for Good Male. Wow. Now, if we just kept it at the gambling, well, boy, there are a lot of you that might, kind of like want to listen here for tips. Gambling. All right, boy, we want to make some money. But it's not just gambling. It's gambling for good male. What does she mean by that? Good male. And male is spelled M-A-I-L. So it has something to do with, in the end, some sort of good results. And I will say it's a spoof. It's comedic as well. Evelyn's going to, explain that, how, it's a lot of comedy here, good fun reading. It's about people who might be addicted to buying things from catalogs. Oh, boy, we're all addicted to, things that involve the internet these days, social media, things along that line, and catalogs are probably included here. and other things that Evelyn's going to be talking about. And what we do when we're addicted to that stuff, and, how it could maybe bring us down. And maybe in comedic way, she's going to describe some things that maybe are not so great about some of the characters that she's been talking about in the book. And we're going to find that out. So stick around, people. Addicted to many things, addicted particularly to buying things from catalogs and all. That could be you. Yeah, that could be some of my listening audience right now. So stick around. She's going to remedy your situation. And, also eavesdropping at airports sometimes to get more info into possibly, the different catalogs and ways that people are doing it and all of that stuff. So we're going to find out maybe which airports are the really good ones to go to. Evelyn knows. And I want you to know, too, by ordering her book, and she has other books, too, on Amazon.com that you're going to be interested in as well. And I want you to run to her website and get to know Evelyn and maybe even reach out through her website to her. Go to Evelyn-Cole.com. Welcome, Evelyn, to People of Distinction with Al Cole. It's a pleasure to have you on today. How are you, Evelyn?
I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, let's talk about it here. You wrote the book, Gambling for Good Male. Now, you can tell my listeners what it's actually about. I give a general purview so that my listeners will say, oh, yeah, this is something I want to stick around for to hear the guest talk about it. So you're the guest. Talk about it. Gambling for Good Male. Give us the spin on that. What's that really all about, Evelyn?
It's about a woman named Felicia who loves to buy things from catalogs so that every day something interesting will come in the mail. And she fills her apartment, her condo, with all kinds of strange little items that she thinks she might want to play with or use somehow. So every day she orders something, and she fills it so much that each of her husbands who marry her, she's married 5 times, marry her, they leave after a year. They can't stand living with her. So she doesn't get any relief. She has to go. She has a nurse's degree, but she doesn't want to be a nurse because people are too sad. So she wants to play, and that's why she's named Felicia, too. And she is in Southern California and gets all involved in timeshares, sales, and a variety of projects that to see if she can make some money. She makes some dolls. She takes them to the Laguna Beach Doll Fair and sells them there, but they're very popular, what she makes, but she doesn't really stay with any particular project. And finally, she meets her niece, Caitlin, who has an income and moves in with her and takes care of her. So that she finally works her way out through. But the main part of the novel is all these various things she tries. And she goes to things in Southern California that like the Roy Rogers Museum that has stuffed dogs as well as stuffed horses. And the church in Garden Grove that the minister is standing there, but he's projected on a big screen because it's a drive-in church and people in the cars say their prayers by honking their horns. So there's a lot of humor throughout. But in the very end, one of her husbands, her favorite husband, comes back. And she's all cured by then, stops ordering things. And very end, in Alaska, she says, I no longer believe in God, but I'm deeply religious.
Whoa.
That's the kind of character she is.
Come on, how do you like that? Hey, even getting deep here. I want to ask a question that I know a lot of my listeners would like to ask you right now, with what you're talking about, lady being addicted to buying things from catalogs. Uh, how did you come up with such a unique theme? Now, there aren't many
Well,
catalog buyers out there that are expressed in novels or books. So that's a different take. How did you come up with that?
this was in the Miami airport. I was waiting to fly back to California, and I was just eavesdropping, and I heard one man talk about his sister-in-law and how she kept buying things from catalogs and driving his brother crazy. And I thought, well, that's an interesting addiction. And then I started thinking about addictions. So when you do something over and over again, like a collective 20 cats or something like that, which is a common one, it means that you're trying to feed something in yourself that you can't, that you're missing. You're missing something, and this gives you a momentary satisfaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you're mixing two things here, at least two. Two could be 20. But two things that we're hearing right from the get-go is, a little bit of the comic situation of a woman buying things from catalogs and actually maybe, overdoing it to the point where she has 5 husbands and, after a while they start leaving her because they can't stand it. She's obsessed with this. So we're talking about obsession. And with talking about obsession, now we're getting into some serious territory that you were just tracing, that when we are obsessed with something, that can not only affect our lives in negative ways, but it can really be a very, very, it can be turmoil in our mental state. Go into a little bit more about that. And as you go into it, maybe mention something that that you've seen in just observing people who are obsessive about something and maybe even begin to ruin their lives that way. And then we'll talk about maybe ways that we can do something positive about that. But tell us, how when people get obsessive, what are some of the results of that?
There are a lot of bad results with obsessions. Some not quite so bad as others. Now, this is mainly a comic novel, so they're not. She's lovable throughout, but she finally does get better. But mainly, I show the background, which is she grew up in Massachusetts with in a family that didn't let her have anything, and so she just likes to have toys. And I have another novel where the woman is addicted to sex because she never got any affection with touch as a child. So I always go into the background of the main characters. And I do see some very strange, overhear these strange conversations that inspire me to write about how the unconscious mind affects us all.
Now, isn't that something? You're indicating to my listeners here that sometimes obsessions are just going in reverse. If you are poor, maybe growing up, you might have an obsession to maybe make more money than you need to, work on money more than you need to, and block out everything else. You mentioned a sex obsession, that if you don't have enough love in your life, you might look for love in, as the song says, in all the wrong places and become obsessed that way. Are there a lot of people in our society, in your estimation, Evelyn, who are in that category of being obsessive?
Yes, there are.
So what do we do about it as a society?
As a society, I can only think that is to get the one who's obsessed to understand his or her obsession and where it came from. And I have a program called Brainsweep, which has ways to find out what's on your unconscious mind.
Really? Okay. Now, is that a any sort of consulting business, or is that a therapy business, or
No,
whatever?
that's a course. It's just a course. It's a free course on my website.
Is that right? Okay. And if any of my listeners are interested in getting involved in that course, of course, they go to evelyn-cole.com. And
Click on Brainsweep.
Right. And how long is that course?
It's 6 lessons. They're writing lessons.
Isn't that something? And you're the one who conducts the course?
Yes.
Wow. Now, isn't that something? So we're going from gambling for good mail to a course that could really help people seriously, with
any kind of obsession.
Their obsessions. How long have you been doing that?
Oh, for several years.
Really? Okay. Now, that is something. Did you start doing that even before you wrote the book, Gambling for Good Mail?
No, I think I did that after.
Yeah.
I got into more, when I was writing Gambling for Good Mail, I had to learn more about obsessions, especially weird obsessions like good mail.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a character who was an assistant vice principal of a wealthy school district, who was very successful in her position, but once a month on the new moon, she had to go out and destroy people's collections of things.
That.
So there's all that kind of, I'm fascinated by the unconscious mind and its effect on people.
Well, so are we. People of distinction. With Al Cole, and Evelyn Cole is our special guest here today. And not only does she have, she shares my last name, but this lady, she can get deep with helping people with their obsessions as well. And that's what People of Distinction is all about. We can get humorous, and we also get deep to try to guide people in the right direction. So we're going to guide you in the right direction right now. Order this book, Gambling for Good Mail, by our special guest, Evelyn Cole, on People of Distinction with Al Cole. And you can order that at Amazon.com.
I wonder if I could read you a comic poem.
Go ahead.
It's short.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Okay, it's called Read the Recipe. This is for women. She poured in a whole quart of love before the man was warm. Didn't save enough sugar to sprinkle on anyone else. She melted all the butter, too. There wasn't enough left to grease the pan, let alone the kids or the skids. She whipped up a frenzy without separating the juicy bits from the facts. She set her oven too high, let the edges burn, the middle sigh. Next life, she vowed she'd read the recipe all the way through, measure before she began. The next life, she came back as a pile-driving man.
How do you like that? We love that on People of Distinction with Al Cole. Now, we're getting towards the end of the interview here, and I want to take it out with whatever you want to talk about here of your book, Gambling for Good Mail, that in the end can end obsessions. And I'm going to put it this way. Possibility thinking. I end all of my shows with a twist. Possibility thinking. Whatever my guest was talking about, if we looked at it in a positive way, what kind of world would that look like if whatever she was talking about or he was talking about came out big time in our world? You're talking about Gambling for Good Mail. You're talking about, of course, comedically. We understand that. You're talking about obsessions. In a world without obsessions, let's say that, why not? We once had a world without airplanes. We once had a world without TV, without radio, without the internet. We once had a world even, maybe without telephones, all of that stuff. So possibilities here if we had a world without any obsessions. Now, we also have a lot of other things that maybe are not good for us. Maybe we're still overeating or whatever. But we're just not really obsessed in the way that you're talking about. What kind of world would that look like that it doesn't look like now, or would it make any difference at all?
I think it would make a difference, yes. I think a lot of people would be a lot more comfortable if they understood their obsessions.
That's right. And see, I'll add to that at the end of the show here. give it my 2 cents as well. What Evelyn is saying, it's not always the obsessions themselves. It's the way that you deal with those obsessions.
Right.
It's the way that you begin to understand that you have an obsession in the first place. A lot of people out there don't know that what they're doing is obsessive.
Right, that's true.
That's right. Until sometimes it begins to bite them. And now they go through some negativity in their lives. And guess what? They start to discover the real self of who they are. Not a bad thing to do. And as they're rediscovering themselves, they might even get spiritual. And as they rediscover themselves, they're rediscovering other people. This is the serious part of People of Distinction. I always end it this way. People, I want you to think in terms of getting to know yourself a little bit better. Getting to understand not only just the great things about you. We all have great things about us. We're great. We're made that way by whatever spiritual force got us here in the first place. But we also know that we do have our pitfalls. And we don't want our pitfalls to lead to our downfalls. So take a little bit of alone time, people. Get to know who you are. Get to understand some of the real subterranean things going on within your world that maybe when you start to deal with that seriously and effectively, you can start to help other people. That's really the beginning of big-time intelligence. When you know that you can reach out, help other people, just like Evelyn is doing with her service. You know, it's a free service. You can go to her website, engage in that free service, and she might help you to understand your obsessions a little bit better. Yeah, she's reaching out. And one more time, I want you to reach out to Evelyn, her Gambling for Good Mail, and you can reach out that way by ordering her book at Amazon. And reach out to her directly through her website, evelyn-cole.com. And you can also reach out to UR-Link, one of the best publishing firms in the country and around the world. UR-Link-Publishing.com. Thank you so much, Evelyn, for being my special guest here today.
Oh, I liked it.
Yeah.